Sehr geehrte Damen und Herren, ich möchte Sie ganz herzlich als Teilnehmer bei unserem Webinar AgTech in Brasilien begrüßen. Ich begrüße Sie jetzt aus dem Außenwirtschaftszentrum São Paulo an einem wunderschönen Spätherbsttag. Die Klimaanlage läuft bereits um 10 Uhr. Ich nehme aber an, wo wir später hinschalten, in Piracicaba wird es noch ein paar Grad heißer sein. Das ist nämlich eine der Agrarmetropolen des Landes. Zunächst ganz kurz zum Ablauf dieses Webinars. Es wird folgendermaßen ablaufen, dass ich eine kleine Einführung und Begrüßung mache und ein paar Worte sage über die wirtschaftliche Situation Brasiliens sowie Doing Business in Brazil. Anschließend übergebe ich dann an meine Kollegin Cecil Sieber. Sie ist die Expertin für Landwirtschaft am Außenwirtschaftszentrum São Paulo und wird Ihnen auch ein paar Informationen über diesen sehr wichtigen Sektor in Brasilien übermitteln. Und anschließend gibt es dann die Präsentation AgTech in Brasil von Professor Molin, ehe wir zur Questions and Answers Session übergehen. Diese Questions and Answers Session werden wir dann auf Englisch machen, damit auch Professor Molin die Fragen beantworten kann. Es wird dann so sein, dass ich dann auf Englisch die Fragen übersetze. Also Sie können während der Präsentation bereits Fragen stellen und wenn Sie die auf Englisch stellen möchten, kann ich sie dem Professor direkt vortragen oder sonst übersetze ich sie von Deutsch auf Englisch. Wie gesagt, während der Präsentation ist es möglich, diese Fragen zu stellen und nach der Question and Answer Session, circa in einer Stunde, wir werden schauen, dass wir nicht zu lange Ihre Zeit in Anspruch nehmen, werden wir dann das Webinar beenden. Allerdings können Sie Ihre Fragen schon jetzt stellen und wir werden uns die Zeit nehmen, Ihre Fragen zu beantworten. Das ist nämlich sehr wichtig für uns. So, zum ersten Slide. Brazil is back. Also die letzten Jahre waren keine sehr einfachen Jahre für Brasilien. Man hat es auch in Österreich mitbekommen. Die Jahre 2015, 2016 waren geprägt von einem Minuswachstum. Das ist aber jetzt vorbei. Schon bereits 2017 hat man ein kleines Wachstum feststellen können, was Brasilien betrifft. Das Bruttosozialprodukt ist um fast 1% gewachsen. Und jetzt für 2018 erwarten wir uns ein Wachstum über den 2%, also zwischen 2 und 3% BIP-Wachstum. Das ist schon mal recht in Ordnung. Was aber noch viel beeindruckender ist an dem Wachstum, ist, und das kommt im nächsten Slide, das Agro-BIP. Also das Wachstum der Landwirtschaft ist in Brasilien ganz enorm. Wir sehen hier Wachstumsraten, die deutlich über dem Wachstum des gesamten Bruttoinlandsprodukts liegen, teilweise sogar im zweistelligen Bereich. Das verdeutlicht eigentlich, wie wichtig die Landwirtschaft für die brasilianische Volkswirtschaft ist. Ein großer Teil des Wachstums der Wirtschaft verdankt Brasilien seiner Landwirtschaft. So, zum nächsten Slide. Also Brasilien ist ein großer und komplexer Markt. Hier sind wir jetzt beim Doing Business. Das betrifft natürlich auch das Doing Business im Bereich Landwirtschaft. Also auch im Bereich Landwirtschaft muss man mit einer erhöhten Bürokratie und teilweise komplexen rechtlichen Grundlagen sich auseinandersetzen, wenn man diesen Markt bearbeiten möchte. Und ich will jetzt gar nicht ins Detail gehen. Einige Firmen, die vielleicht hier schon tätig sind, wissen bereits, was ich hiermit sagen möchte. Ansonsten stehe ich auch jederzeit gerne zur Verfügung, ebenso auch bei Steuern und Finanzierung. Also die Finanzierung ist in Brasilien, beim Verkauf nach Brasilien immer ein sehr, sehr entscheidender Punkt, weil hier in Brasilien die Kreditzinsen sehr hoch sind und man eine gute Finanzierung haben muss, um erfolgreich Geschäfte mit Brasilien zu machen. Diese Themen, auf die ich jetzt nicht näher eingehen werde, können wir jederzeit telefonisch oder per E-Mail klären. Das Außenwirtschaftszentrum São Paulo steht hier für Sie jederzeit zur Verfügung. Ich möchte jetzt deswegen nicht länger darüber sprechen, damit wir mehr Zeit haben, um über das Thema des Webinars zu sprechen. Wenn Sie allerdings die Chance nutzen möchten, mit unserem Wirtschaftsdelegierten, Herrn Magister Klaus Hofstadler, persönlich zu sprechen, dann möchte ich Sie herzlich einladen zum Forum Brasilien Back to Business. am 2.5., also am 2. Mai 2018 in der WKÖ in Wien. Hier haben Sie eine umfangreiche Veranstaltung, wo es eben um einige der angesprochenen Themen geht, auch also Zoll, Importabwicklung, Finanzierung, Steuern und Unternehmensrecht werden Teil dieses Forums sein. Und wenn Sie die Möglichkeit haben, dorthin zu gehen, möchte ich Sie noch einmal herzlich einladen, diese Gelegenheit in Anspruch zu nehmen. So, ich verabschiede mich jetzt vorläufig von Ihnen, gebe weiter nach Piracicaba. Piracicaba ist ein Ort, der ca. 160 Kilometer nordwestlich von São Paulo liegt und ist eine Hauptstadt der Landwirtschaft in Brasilien. Und ich übergebe jetzt an meine Kollegin Cecil Sieber in Piracicaba. Cecil, hörst du mich?
Ja, ich höre dich. Danke, Stefan.
Ich gebe dir das Wort und klingt mich hiermit aus. Ja? Alles Gute.
Ja, also nochmal danke, Stefan. Und ja, hallo und herzlich willkommen, meine Damen und Herren, zu diesem Webinar der Außenwirtschaft Austria zum Thema AgTech in Brasilien. Mein Name ist Cecil Sieber, ich bin in der Außenwirtschaftszentrum São Paulo verantwortlich für den Landwirtschaftsbereich. Und ich begrüße Sie heute herzlich aus der ESAUC. Das ist einer der wichtigsten Fachhochschulen für Landwirtschaft und Forschung hier in Brasilien. Ist auch einer der fünften wichtigsten weltweit. Und ja, die ESAUC, die befindet sich im Innern von dem Bundesstaat São Paulo und liegt circa 160 Kilometer entfernt von unserem Büro. Ja, wir bringen Ihnen heute einen kurzen Überblick zum aktuellen Szenario der Landwirtschaft in Brasilien, Geschäftsmöglichkeiten und alles das mit Fokus auf Precision Farming. Und hoffentlich können wir Ihnen heute ein paar positive Nachrichten dazu bringen. Nochmal zur Erinnerung, Sie haben während des Webinars die Möglichkeit, Fragen zu stellen. Benutzen Sie dafür bitte die Chat-Funktion und am Ende des Vortrags werden wir diese so gut wie möglich beantworten. Falls aber die Zeit sich nicht ausreichen sollte, dann können Sie uns gerne zu jeder Zeit per E-Mail kontaktieren. Ja, dieser Vortrag, der wird auch auf unserem YouTube-Kanal veröffentlicht und den Link kriegen Sie natürlich auch noch dazu. Ja, das war's. Also trotz der schlimmsten Krise der letzten Jahren im Land hat der Agrarsektor immer für positive Handelsbilanzen gesorgt. Ein Beispiel dazu ist das Jahr 2016. Während die meisten Sektoren der Industrie rückgängig gelaufen sind, ist der Agrarsektor 4,5% gewachsen. Und jetzt endlich nach 2 Jahren Rezession fängt die brasilianische Wirtschaft wieder an aufzusteigen. Und wie vor kurzem gesagt, auch mit Stefan hat es auch gesagt, ganz maßgeblich dazu beigetragen hat die Agrarindustrie. Diese beiträgt heute 24% des brasilianischen BIP und allein im letzten Jahr ist sie schon 14,5% gewachsen. Wie Sie wissen, ist Brasilien einer der wichtigsten Agrarländer weltweit, größter Kaffeeproduzent, Zuckerrohr, Orangensaft, größter Exporteur von Hühnerfleisch und zweitgrößter Produzent von Rindfleisch und Soja. Und mit dem Ziel vor Augen, in den kommenden Jahren einer der wichtigsten Exporteure weltweit zu werden, wird sehr viel jetzt investiert in Forschung und in neuen Modernisierung und Produktionstechnologie. Aber mehr dazu erfahren wird Ihnen jetzt Herr Professor Molin erklären. Er ist Landwirtschaftsingenieur und Professor hier in der ESAUC und ist auch Vorsitzender des brasilianischen Verbands für Präzisionslandwirtschaft. Professor Molin, thank you for being here with us.
Thank you, Cecile. Thank you, Stefan. And good afternoon, all of you. Hope to transfer you some information regarding what we see as the AgTech in Brazil. We are at University of São Paulo, the Ag campus of University of São Paulo. And we have very good representation on international level, and this helps us to at least to give you or try to give you an overview of what is our understanding about the ag market. But I'll start with a not geographical view, but a more ag view of our geography. Brazil is big, and we have some particularities that I want to point to. First, we are south from us, we are in São Paulo state. South from us, the south region, is subtropical. As subtropical, the agriculture south from us is quite different from the rest of the country, and with some similarities with the European agriculture. And we are so big that we also have tropical agriculture in the northern hemisphere. Okay, but after the Amazon forest in the north. Regarding to that, I will use one simple graphic from the Economist, showing specifically what was pointed out previously. What are the important crops, but in a different point of view. What is the area involved on each one of those? Here is we see the percentage of production and exporting in the world market. Okay, let's start with the first one, orange juice. Orange juice means orange plantations. How big is the orange plantation and where is it? Orange is a perennial crop, 0.7 million hectares, is very important for the international market, but in terms of area, it does not represent that much. 0.7 million hectares concentrated in São Paulo state, in our area. Sugar as the product, let's talk about sugarcane. Sugarcane is a tropical crop, we call semi-perennial crop. It covers 9 million hectares, that is big. 9 million hectares and concentrated in the southeast area, 65% in São Paulo state, in our state. Soybeans. Well, soybeans is the biggest, the most important ag product in Brazil. It means 34 million hectares, and it covers from the very south to the very north of the country. Is a summer crop, is very tropical, and so even in the south we have a summer period, very important for the soybeans. This is the most important crop, and from there later on we'll talk about some specific numbers related to technology. Coffee is important. Yes, we are the largest producer and the largest exporter in the world. It means 2.2 million hectares approximately. Is totally different from what we are talking about in terms of crops. Is located in small mid farms in the southeast and spread in some other parts of the north. Is very peculiar because the mechanization is limited, not because of the technology, but because of the areas, small hilly areas, small and mid areas, farms, and moving to flat areas with high mechanization. Maize is really important because it makes rotation with soybeans or as a second crop. We have 2 crops per year in the majority of the territory. And when we say 5 million hectares is rotation competing with soybeans as the first crop. And 11 million hectares is a second crop complementary to soybeans, not in the total in the whole country. For example, in the south, yeah, we go into winter, and though south runs winter crops. Cotton is important for our agriculture. It is a high tech crop, but it covers 1 million hectares. It fluctuates depending on the international market, yeah, and is only in the north, competing and complementing soybeans. We didn't talk about beef, but beef means, cattle means 140 million hectares of natural pasture. And that is the largest movement that we will see in the next few years. Cattle is getting more intensive in terms of technology, so is decreasing area, and those areas that are getting away from cattle are being integrated into grain production, mainly in the north. And we are talking about huge expansion available area for expansion on grains, just from pasture areas. Okay, and talking about pork and chicken that are on the graphic here, they are fed by basically by maize and soybeans. Okay, for export. Let's talk about precision ag as the symbol of technology for entering technology for farmers. Precision ag in the world, and then the term precision ag comes from the early 1990s and started in the world and in Brazil with two major ways. One related to spatial variability in the field, that is the natural precision ag, making agriculture with more precision, means dealing with investigation of the spatial variability of the fields, using tools like sampling, sensors, modeling on GIS platforms, and getting recommendations for interventions like site-specific treatments on everything. That is one huge area and is covered by a great number of small and mid-sized consulting and service provider companies. A big number. We have an association of those with 150 companies, and our view is that at least we have 300 of those companies, small, mid-sized service providing companies to farmers. And they cover at least half of the business. The other half is done internally by mid and large farms. Then the second line is the technology related to GNSS on machinery. We call automation on machinery, and is well represented by examples like auto-steering, telemetry, transferring data from machines to farmers, control traffic, automation on machines, etc. That is run by the industry, basically and totally by the industry, global industry and local industry of ag machinery. Okay, let's give some numbers or some exporting a little bit the first line, that is they both run separately in the market. Okay, what is the status of this precision ag in Brazil today? Or precision ag is here about 15 years now. The majority of the services and the activities or the business is in the application of inputs, variable rate application of inputs, based and concentrated on fertilizers, based on grid soil sampling. Is the standard way of doing precision ag in Brazil. Okay, and we call that the first step. What is the second level or second generation tools for precision ag? And that is where we see huge opportunities, and we can discuss even a little bit about that. There are new concepts, management zones. It means designing specific subfields on each field and treating them differently based on information. The information today comes from remote sensing images. Remote sensing not only by orbital images, but also by UAVs. That is a very tough business recently. Soil electrical conductivity is a very specific technical issue that farmers and at least technicians know about that. Yield mapping, those are the topics that people use to design those measurement zones, and so those are the opportunities. And there are new approaches on sensors, crop sensors for specifically for nitrogen management and for growth regulators on cotton and even on soybeans. Those are the new tools that farmers, just a few farmers are approaching yet. And we see for the future, not only academics, but the industry, site-specific application of agrochemicals. And that is a huge opportunity or a huge challenge to be developed on the whole network. Let's talk about numbers to give an idea about who is doing what. This is a survey that covered, recent survey that covered the grain production area. I'll not explain, but basically we have South represented and two major regions in the central part of the country. We call Cerrado is the central and most important grain production area, and the new Cerrado in the northeast. Let's talk about what is the farmer that we are talking about. The farmer in Brazil that we are talking about runs a rotation system that produces soybeans. 99% of them, all those produce soybeans, and then they complement with maize, depending on the geographical region. Maize as first crop or as second crop after soybeans during the same season. In the south, you see some wheat is important just in the south because it's subtropical. Other crops on that graphic means cotton in the north, sunflower, and some other crops. Okay, this is the profile of the farmers and what do they have or how big they are and what they have as equipment. If we look in the south, one quarter of the farmers, for example, don't have even a combine to harvest their grain. Reason for that, because they are too small to sustain a combine, a harvester. In the north, they are big, and the harvesting, 10% of the harvesting is service provider, covered by service providers because of the large operation. Is the opposite of the south. And then they have tractor, sprayer, and planter. That is the basic operation of grains in Brazil. We run no-till, so we have almost nothing or no issues on tillage, traditional conventional tillage, only on sugarcane. And sugarcane is a crop that runs every 5 years by average, tillage, preparation, planting, and then 5 cuts. Let's see what do they use in terms of technology. Do they use some precision ag technology? 45% of them say yes. And from those, 79% of those 45 say that they run some soil fertility mapping. That is the symbol of this precision ag. And if they are asked about what kind of soil mapping, 43% run grid soil sampling. Okay, 43 times 75 times 45 gives 15% of the Brazilian agriculture by a rough number is into precision ag. That is the number, 15% of the Brazilian agriculture. Unfortunately, our numbers are not good. This is the number, the most recent number that I can show you. This means 85% of the Brazilian farming is not yet in the level of what we're talking here, precision ag. What is the major issue on that? And this is important from our point of view, opportunities and challenges. If we look what is the grid soil sampling that they run in terms of quality of data, quality of diagnostic for soil, for field variability, in the south, 50% of them run at up to 2 hectares per sample. That is what we say that is the minimum acceptable. If you go to the north, Cerrado, 25% of the farmers run up to 2 hectares per sample and 50% up to 3 hectares per sample. And after that, we say that the maps or the diagnostic is not good. In the New Cerrado, the northeast area is even lower than that. What does it mean? Well, it means that the spatial resolution of the information on those, and we are talking about more than 60 million hectares of annual crops. We have the possibility to, they have, and the service providers or farmers have the possibility to work in a high definition of field work in terms of working in the pixel after interpolation, things like that. But for some attributes that farmers are working with, the resolution or the sampling is not enough. We are talking about the major limitation of tropical agriculture in Brazil. Is not nitrogen, is phosphorus and potassium. For phosphorus and potassium, diagnostics of levels available in the field and necessities in terms of its variable rate application, this technology that we are using today with grid soil sampling and lab is not enough and not feasible for the long term and not sustainable if we want to expand it. So how to deal with phosphorus and potassium? It's clear for us that, and several other aspects of the field production, especially agrochemicals, I mean crop protection, we need sensors. We need more and more technology on sensors. Sensors for intensification of data, sensors for spatial diagnostic and monitoring fields, and involving basically soil fertility and crop protection. Okay, let's move to the next line, the technology on automation on ag machinery. What are the situations here? Back to those farmers, 38% of those are using some kind of automation on their machines, or at least onboard computers monitoring, collecting data, and 60% of those 38% already are involved with auto steering. They have auto steering technology on their machines, tractors, combine, and sprayers. Okay. What does it mean? Well, it means that they are involved with some kind of technology. Technology already approached them, but we go to the next data is very disappointing because at least 88% of them are using basically GNSS without any correction. It means low precision or low accuracy positioning in the field. So huge opportunity for expansion. In terms of automation, we see challenges. What kind of challenge? Integrating automation to the farms. Automation, I mean automation in the broad level for ag machinery, for controlling, for irrigation, for the whole process. We have technology dependence. What I mean by that, we import several parts of the technology. For example, positioning and the great part of electronics is dependent on external supply from importing. And one big challenge for expansion in this moment that we are talking about precision ag is here for 15 years, but recently we keep talking about digital agriculture in the broad view. What means digital agriculture? Well, connectivity. So connectivity is a big limitation in the field. Limitations in terms of internet coverage to reach fields. We don't see solutions for the short time. Some are already spending money and building up their internal connection systems. I'm talking about large and mid farmers, especially in the sugarcane that is already in an advanced level of telemetry and connection between machines and from machinery to the manager. Opportunities, huge area, and still expanding. You know that we have some responsibilities on that. We have to expand, and we have opportunities to expand, and the expansion comes from the pasture area that is being beef or cattle is being intensified or with more technology. So we are giving our living area from cattle to grain, and so we keep expanding, and the areas are really huge. 60 million hectares today on grains, and with some projections to reach 90 or even 100 million hectares in the next 30 years. Lack of labor, even if we have some problems in the urban area or on labor positions available. In the field, in the agriculture, that is the opposite. And the profile of that labor changed a lot in the last 10, 15 years. Now we need people that are well educated to work in the cabin of ag machinery with automation, and that has been a big problem for preparing those in a short time. But we see opportunities on that. The characteristics and particularities of that area, of these opportunities, I would point out that we're talking about mid to large farms. The small ones are not increasing in number, will not increase in number. The expansion will happen in mid-large farms on those areas that are being set aside by pasture. And the majority is in double crop on that description that I gave you, soybeans, followed by maize, with some cotton. Sugarcane will spend because of sugar for energy and not sugar for sugarcane for energy, not sugarcane for sugar. Dedicated to energy, it will spend on the next few years, at least for some decades, and we don't know for the long term. This expansion is happening and will happen in the areas that are with less infrastructure in the north. I think that gives you an overview, at least from our point of view. But yes, I'll be open for questions, and if I can, I will try to answer you. Thank you for the opportunity, and I'm open for questions. Stefan.
Thank you very much, Professor Molin, for this very interesting overview of the Brazilian agricultural issues. I have switched to English now so that we can do our questions and answers session. And I'm having a quick look at what questions we have received already. And we have a couple of questions here, and I would like to start, Professor, with a more generic question, a more global question. The first question I would like you to answer is, what is the biggest challenge for the expansion of digital agriculture in Brazil nowadays, Professor?
Yes, for sure. People keep talking. We have tens and thousands of events, local or national, even international events here talking about digital agriculture, IoT in the field and things like that. And we say, yes, it's very interesting, very promising. But how to deal with IoT where you have no connection? So we have to build up a new concept of infrastructure to connection, internet connection. For example, in the last 3 years, we had some pilot projects in that. Sugar mill. Let's talk about sugar mill. Sugar mill is a huge operation. The largest sugar mill in the world is 2 hours from us, is already dealing with that. They want to connect all their machines with IP to the server, and there is no coverage from signal from the service, but from the telecom companies providers. So they build up their own 4G or G4 system, private system, to have the connection, and they spend a lot of money with that. Is a challenge in terms of technology, in terms of investment, but that is the solution that some farmers or some investors are dealing with. Connectivity is a big issue. Solutions for that, we know that we have solutions for that, but it passes through infrastructure that depends on government or depends on big investments from privates.
Thank you very much, Professor, for this really extensive answer. The next question that was that we received is also a more global general question. I would like to start with the more general questions first and then go to the more specific ones. The second question we received is, what are the challenges for companies from outside of Brazil to do business in the agricultural sector in Brazil? And I would like maybe to give you the opportunity to say a little bit from your experience, to tell us a little bit from your experience. And then I would also like to complete this question with some aspects we get to know here with our work in the business, in the trade office.
Perfect. I know that you already mentioned on your introduction, the bureaucracy. I'll give that away from my answer. Bureaucracy is one step or one limitation or one challenge. Let's talk about technical or more technical challenges. Okay, our territory is huge. And that gives the first, I think the first answer. We keep receiving people from abroad or visitors or email or questions related to what are the challenges for business. Even for business that comes from outside of agriculture in local investors or local business. Agriculture is spread around the continent or the large territorial area. It means distances. And infrastructure for traveling, I would say that is not anymore a big issue, but distance is still a problem. You have your headquarters in São Paulo or in Piracicaba or anywhere. You have to send someone for technical support to a customer 2,000 kilometers away, and you wanna have the solution in a short time. That is really tough. So we have to deal with that. Companies that are already in place here deal with that, and we know that criticism from farmers is there. The dealer, the local dealer, has to cover problems that sometimes they are not able to do because of technical support away from them and things like that. And then we get back to connectivity that will limit the technical support away from the local office or things like that. That is one thing that I would point out. And the second thing that we're going to point out is that agriculture is really needing technology, but technology for agriculture has to fit into their budget. And their budget is very limited. It means such number of dollars or euros per hectare every year. And we know that we are dealing about international market and commodities. Let's talk about soybeans. Okay, their capability of investment in technology means such amount of euros per hectare per year, not more than that. And the return has to be kind of guaranteed by the supplier. And we need validation for that. And normally, the companies don't give the opportunity for validation. They want to sell it. Those are some of the issues that I would point out.
Thank you once again. From my part, I would like to complement maybe with also 2 or 3 points. One point is that doing in business usually demands a little bit more time than it does in smaller markets. We have realized that sometimes companies only have a planning horizon of 2 to 3 years, and this is not always very realistic in Brazil. So in Brazil, to be successful and to have a chance, companies usually need to have a longer planning horizon, longer time span to be active, and so that they can have a return on investment. It's not always very fast, but it's a very huge market that can really be worth the efforts. Another point you already mentioned is the continental dimension of Brazil. It's different than Europe, where you can do most of the traveling by car, and Brazil is so big. It's like 5,000 kilometers from south to north and 4,000 from east to west. So the dimensions are not to be underestimated here in Brazil. And then a third point, or third and a fourth point quickly maybe, The financing issues. Usually financing is a big issue. If you want to sell to Brazil, it's always important to present a solution that also includes financing options for your products and solutions. So you should always take great care in preparing this aspect of the business. And the last but not least, in some areas you can also you can achieve a lower import tariff, so-called ex-tarifario, when you have no national Brazilian concurrent product competitor. So you can try to do this process, which gives you an advantage in the competitive price of your product, and after analysis, if it's possible, and in case it is possible, you should really try out the ex-tarifario, which can be very useful also in the agricultural area and gives you kind of an advantage. So after this question, we have received a couple of other questions. One I would like to answer, first of all, is you will receive all the charts presented by our colleagues and by Professor Molin afterwards. We will send them to you by email. All the participants will receive the charts. And also the whole webinar is going to be on our YouTube channel. So in case you missed some part or you want to see it another time, you have the opportunity to look at it on the YouTube channel of the Wirtschaftskammer. Now a more technical question, more specific question. I would like to go, we received, it's how was and is the situation for pig production growth rate? So our participant would like to have some information, if you can give us, in case you have this, for the pig production in Brazil. What are the perspectives and the growth rate of the pig production lately? Do you have any information on that, Professor?
Growth rate on area or on amount of product?
I think both of them will be interesting. If you have one of them, we will appreciate.
The area, as I said, is a big issue, discussion that goes even into the environmental issues, how to deal with expansion without touching the forest. And that is, today is clear. We have a huge opportunity for expansion. All the international communities that know our numbers are saying the same. We will expand the production into the areas that already open, specifically on the cattle production area that is being giving away, because cattle is increasing, but decreasing area with intensification. Okay, that is the expansion. What is the major product that will spend for the near future? Clearly, soybeans, because we are exporting. Who is importing? Who needs feed the animals and people with soybeans? The forecast is that we still have to expand a lot, and those numbers it depends on each point of view. Then the other part is where is the potential of expanding productivity, yield. Well, productivity on soybeans, we don't believe that we will spend that much. We are stuck on 3.2, 3.5 tons per hectare, equivalent to USA and equivalent to Argentina. What is the reason for not expecting expansion on that? Because the technology is, we are talking about commodity, and the technology is, we can add technology, but is still not sustainable on soybeans. So the technology that we are talking about on precision ag is to support those that are still not on that level. But if you talk about maize, corn, yes, maize, we are below the competitors' yield or productivity average, Argentina and US and others. So yes, we still have to improve by technology, and that is related to the whole chain from genetics to automation on machines. Sugarcane, it will expand area and will expand productivity and will expand absorption of technology. And some of the, okay, we didn't mention forest, tropical forest. That is very important. We produce lots of eucalyptus. Is a important area, expanding, but we don't know that much about what will be the market for the mid future.
Mm-hmm. Thank you once more, Professor. I have one more question that sounds interesting, and I would say if there's any more questions, we can answer this one and then maybe a last one before we close this webinar. But I will already anticipate that in case you have further questions that cannot be answered, or if you have a question that you come up with after the webinar, of course we are ready to answer your questions here at the Trade Commission at the Außenwirtschaftssenter Sao Paulo, and we will also pass it to Professor Molin. But I will continue now with the next question, and then we have one more option. So if you have any more questions, you can still write us. But I will go to this one now. The question says, is there an organic farming sector established in Brazil? We know there are a lot of small privately owned organic crop producers, but are there also professional organic farms in the market?
Yes, that is an important issue. For me, I'm talking about academic now. We have this huge dispute of market between organics and non-organics, and the exporting on commodities. But the organic sector is very well organized now. There are plenty of legislation on that, and it is not so strong yet for the local market for consumption, but I can tell you examples of very interesting and very challenging operations. For example, sugar mills that run 5 to 10,000, depending on each one, 1,000 hectares of organic sugar for the international market. Very well organized, very well in a very good level, technological level, and that is an example of the, I would call, more intensive and more commercial and more international organic market. Yes, I think we will see a important expansion in the next few years, and we have a huge number. We have to mention that huge number of small and mid. We were talking about 4 million small and mid farms in the concentrated in the south and southeast, with very good level of knowledge level, farmers that know what they are doing, and with some limitations on investment and on technology.
Very well, Professor. So we are coming now to the last question. And after this last question, I will switch to German again and do the closing of the webinar. The last question that we received is there further concentration to be expected with the big players such as JBS or BRF, or will Brazil also further the development of mid-sized producers? What is your opinion on that, Professor?
That was a movement. Today is clear for those that try to understand what does that mean. That is a movement not only on beef or on agriculture, but even on industry and some other sectors. Last week we saw a movement on the pulp industry from eucalyptus. The concentration on some to get bigger, to get international, and to be important in the international business. That does not mean that the others do not fit into this market. The examples that you mentioned are in the beef area, especially beef, chicken, and pork. But we have hundreds of mid and small size, even on that sector, especially co-ops in the south that run I'd not say large, but mid-size compared to the two that you mentioned, mid-size exporting, especially on chicken and pork. So yes, there is room for the others. But in some areas, and that was a decision on the I would say on government to have some world-size companies in the area.
So thank you very much for your interesting presentation and all the answers given by you, Professor Molin. As I said, we are keeping contact in case more questions arise, and all the participants are welcome to send us our questions by email in the next couple of days so that we can forward them to Professor Molin, and we like to keep this open dialogue for the next couple of months. So in case you have any more questions, please feel free. I'm now going to switch to German. Vielen Dank, liebe Zuschauer, für die Teilnahme an diesem Webinar. Ich hoffe, es war etwas für Sie dabei bei diesem spannenden Thema Agricultural Technology, AgTech Brasil. Es ist ein Thema, das uns auch in den nächsten Monaten begleiten wird. Und ich möchte die Gelegenheit nutzen, dass ich Sie hinweise auf die nächsten Veranstaltungen, die in diesem Bereich stattfinden werden. Es wird von Seiten der Forschungsförderungsgesellschaft am 11. April auch in Zusammenarbeit mit der Wirtschaftskammer ein Event geben, bei dem es um Forschungs- und Entwicklungskooperation mit Lateinamerika geht. Also ich erwähne das auch deshalb, weil es vielleicht für einige Firmen interessant sein könnte, an diesem Event teilzunehmen. Nähere Informationen gibt es auf der Seite der Forschungsförderungsgesellschaft, wie gesagt in Kooperation mit der Wirtschaftskammer. Wie bereits erwähnt, wird es am 2. Mai ein sehr interessantes Brasilien-Event geben mit Magister Klaus Hofstadler in Wien, in der Wirtschaftskammer. Hier werden wir über die wichtigsten Themen wie Doing Business und Finanzierungen etc. sprechen. Also ein Must-Go für alle Firmen, die Business in Brasilien machen wollen. Und last but not least, auch im Bereich Precision Farming und Agricultural Technologies planen wir fürs zweite Semester ein Austria Showcase mit dieser Thematik. Also bitte schauen Sie, was sich auch auf unserer Seite tut. In den nächsten Monaten gibt es dazu mehrere neuere Informationen. Und wir hoffen, Sie sowohl bei diesen Veranstaltungen als auch bei den nächsten Webinaren wieder begrüßen zu dürfen. Wie bereits gesagt, alle Informationen werden per E-Mail zugeschickt, der Präsentationen. Die Aufzeichnung dieses Webinars wird auf YouTube veröffentlicht. Und wie gesagt, wir hoffen, Sie beim nächsten Webinar wieder hier begrüßen zu dürfen. Vielen Dank für Ihre Aufmerksamkeit und einen schönen Tag noch. Auf Wiedersehen.